In a world that celebrates the grind, the hustle, and output, let me ask you this question. What if the strongest leaders are the ones who refuse to sacrifice their faith, their vision, and their people? Come on, let's get this conversation started. I can't wait to dive in. Welcome to Transformation Station Leadership Podcast, where we explore the inner work and outer practices that shape powerful, purpose-driven leaders. I'm your host, Adrienne Benton, and today's conversation is a deeply meaningful one. That's right. We're talking about what it really means to lead beyond the grind, and to lead from a place of faith, of clarity, and conviction, while at the same time building a culture where people are never treated as expendable. I can't wait for you to meet our special guest today, because this episode is for leaders who are tired of the empty hustle and ready to build something sustainable. But before we get into this wonderful topic today, I want to share a few things with you. Number one, I want to remind you that this is a community that loves to learn and grow together. And so the next leadership seminar is coming up on March 5th. We have the amazing Kyla Glover, who is going to join us, and I can't wait for you to meet her. Registration will open later on today. How do you register for it? You go to mobilizingwithimpact.com, join our community. You'll get the Zoom link and be able to join us. You don't want to miss. These monthly leadership seminars are extremely powerful and impactful. I also want to remind you, that's right, we have our second Lead Her Shift seminar that's happening. Lead Her Shift conference, actually. We had our first conference in January. Over 400 of you registered for it. We had an amazing time together. And this time we have part two. Now, what I love is that in this one, Lead Her Shift, it's called Lead Her Shift Adjustment. You know, we all have challenges and things that we go through, but when we face challenges, that does not mean that it's a sign to quit. It's a sign that maybe we just need to adjust the crown a little bit, right? So definitely join us 13 to 16 April. You will be able to register starting on March 13. So go ahead. You'll see the advertisements, share with the other women in your network, and save the date for the Lead Her Shift conference. And then guess what? That's right. We're celebrating again today. We're celebrating because you are such an amazing community. What are we celebrating? Let me show you. That's right. Go ahead and give yourself a round of applause. We are celebrating the fact that we have made it to 4,300 podcast downloads. And that's only because week after week, you tap in and you keep us moving forward. We truly are a global community. But guess what? As always, you know, we've only just begun. So 4,300, let's take it. We're very close to 4,500, 5,000, 6,000. Not about the numbers, it's about the impact. So I'm going to invite you, if you have missed, we're in season 3. If you have missed even one episode of season 1 or season 2, it's time for you to go back. That's right. It's time for you to go back, get caught up, so we can truly continue to be a global community. All right. Well, guess what? It's time for us to get this conversation started. I want you to meet E. Her name is Elyssa Stephenson. That's right. She's the co-president of the Theo and team, whose incredible 20-year journey at the firm started with cleaning coffee cups and culminated with her reaching the executive suite. E isn't your typical design or architecture executive. She's a business visionary who believes hard work, operational deep diving, faith, and people first leadership are the true blueprints for success. I am so excited. At this time, it is my true honor to welcome E. Welcome to Transformation Station. We're so glad to have you today.
Thank you so much, Adrienne. It's really a privilege and an honor. Girl, you have fun, and I'm excited to be here to have fun with you today.
Absolutely. So, what I love about your work is that you represent the kinds of leadership that refuses to separate performance from purpose, right? You lead with understanding that culture isn't built through pressure, it's built through trust. So, I want to start off by asking you this question, right? The title of this is Beyond the Grind. When you say beyond the grind, what does that mean to you as a leader, and how did your faith shape that perspective?
That's a great question. So, beyond the grind for me, I mean, I was not born independently wealthy, right? And much of the world isn't. And so, I think from a very young age, I got very quickly, and I think this was God given and caused a lot of angst in me over the years. But when I finally accepted it for the gift that it is, from a very young age, I realized that I wanted what I did on a day to day basis, to matter,
Yes.
to add value. I knew that I was going to have to work for the rest of my life, and I didn't begrudge that at all. But it was just impressed upon me at a very young age by myself. And my parents didn't do this, it was like intrinsic. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted what I did to matter more than the grind because it's, even when you do what you love, it's, my favorite quote, it comes from my father, actually, who's blue collar. He always said, Elyssa, if you make your vocation your vacation, you'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
So, when you know that you're going to spend the majority of your waking hours working, you've got
Mm-hmm.
to find what you love, what you can be passionate about, and what I believe God put you on this earth, to do. And that's where, when you get into the grind, because the grind is inescapable, right? Even when we do what we love, it gets hard,
Mm-hmm.
especially when we do what we love, it gets hard. And so it's, how can you find peace and meaning, in the grind so that day after day, when you find yourself in the muck, and you're getting out of bed in the morning, you have that why and that reason and that purpose to cling to.
I love that 1000%. So let me ask you this question. How do you build a resilient people first culture, and what role does it play in retaining top talent?
That's, that can be a double-edged sword, like a double-sided question. So to create a resilient culture and organization, I think that you have to be honest with people.
Mm,
And it's double-sided because when you're honest and when you have the value of transparency and you
mm,
actually tell people, you give them the behind the curtain view of what's actually happening in the organization, that can be scary. It can be
yes.
really scary to some people. So I hope that answers your question, but I think transparency is my answer, because when you're honest with people, even when times are bad, I feel like that information is just as much their information, my team members' information, as it is my information. And they deserve to know, good, bad, and different. We celebrate the wins, but we also, if we're only celebrating the wins, if we're only talking about the good stuff, then that's not really being authentic and honest. And that creates the opposite of resilience. It creates distrust. So in order to create safety, in your culture, I think you have to be transparent and honest with people, but you've got to hold that carefully and closely. It's a fine line that you have to walk because you don't want to scare people either.
Absolutely, 1000%. So I've noticed there seems to be a trend now, right? You mentioned the word safety. Psychological safety is this big buzz phrase right now that many leadership gurus are really focusing in on, because they're saying that inherently, when you're in a culture that has psychological safety, the team tends to not just respond better, but there's that layer of trust where people believe that their voice matters, they believe that their ideas matter. And then you mentioned something about like making mistakes. It's important that people understand that, you know what, we're human. You will make
Yes.
a mistake, right? It's what you
Yes.
do with the mistake that was made that makes the difference. And so as you were talking, I was thinking about this phrase here. It says, they create psychological safety through consistently talking about leaders. Resilient cultures are predictable in the best way because people know, like I mentioned, their voice won't be punished, their mistakes won't define them, and their leader's response won't shift with pressure or mood. What do you think?
Especially with pressure. That's when it's like when everybody is under the gun, or whenever you're not meeting goals. Let's say you've published goals, you've got your quarterly, you've got your, annual goal that everybody, you have alignment, and we're not meeting them on a regular basis. I mean, that happens, right? And you've got to uncover the why. And I feel like, and get to the root causes. And when we're talking about psychological safety, I'm a big believer in you can always come up with the best decision when you get collaboration. When when people feel safe enough to actually, communicate and tell you things that they know you don't want to hear. Like when you have that level of psychological safety in your organization, that's what unlocks and unfuels, and gets you past the roadblocks, that you're dealing with. So to get that psychological safety, especially under pressure, you have to be willing to receive that feedback as the gift as that it is, and not push against it. And leaders in some way, form, or fashion are always the problem, right? If we're taking extreme ownership. So you've got to be able to receive that with grace and finesse, and then also take action and change it. And that is like, feedback is a loop. And when you've created it, it creates psychological safety. And that's the consistency I think you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We're talking about building resilient cultures, people first cultures within our teams. And I love what you just shared with us. And here in Transformation Station, we always give our listeners and viewers an opportunity to stop and reflect. And so I want to invite everybody to really stop and reflect on what E is sharing with us right now, because this is like the first level of that foundation that we need to be able to have cultures that thrive. So the other one that I was thinking about while you were talking was this: leaders align culture with daily leadership behavior. And you touched on that, right? It's important that as leaders that we're consistent.
Mm-hmm.
People understand that our yes is our yes, our no is our no, right? They can,
yes.
Nobody's perfect, but they kind of can know what to expect from E. Like,
Yes.
they don't have to be on pins and needles. Like, is she gonna be mad this morning? Is she gonna have an attitude? Is she gonna And so modeling that consistent behavior is really important. Okay, let me ask you this question. How can leaders maintain a strong, clear vision while still prioritizing people, especially in high pressure or performance-driven environments?
Communication.
Talk to us.
It's like when you've done the hard work to nail your vision and you have it succinctly and you can speak to it, you have to do it again and again and again, because if you don't have alignment around your vision, why your company is, existing. I mean, we all, sell a product or a service, but again, the why behind that. Once you've done the hard work to actually codify that in a way that resonates with people, you have to communicate it constantly, consistently, when times are good, again, when times are bad, especially when times are bad. But in my experience, that is what creates alignment, and they need to hear it again and again and again and often. And you have to tie it back, to your core values, and you've got to tie it back to their behavior, how they're doing. And again, being honest with them, this is, this action that you took here, making it tangible and tying it back to, this was in line with our core values, or it wasn't, or this thing that you did over here was the perfect example of what, of why we exist and what we're here to do. And so I would say you got to communicate from a high level. You've got to have a rhythm that people can expect and anticipate, whether you're having your town halls, if you're doing it in writing, once a week, once a month. Also, direct, being FaceTime is, a thing of the past, less and less, or more and more, I should say. It's like we get less FaceTime with people, but, making sure that those events that you are having, are an opportunity to really connect with people and message that vision regularly.
I love that. E said, communicate. Right now, go ahead in the comments and put #communicate. So pivotal, so key, so foundational, and we can't overstate that enough. Thank you so much for sharing that. Let me ask you a question just off the cuff, right? Do you have an example of when you saw communication working well amongst the team, on the job, in the culture?
Actually, I have a very recent example of that. I've been tasked with an opportunity. It's like every challenge is an opportunity, right? So I had a person in my organization who had served in this specific role in seat, for a number of years. But we'd been hitting, a lot of roadblocks, a lot of the goals that we kept putting up on the board, just we were not able to reach them. And what we found ultimately is that it was a seat issue. There was a misalignment issue. And I want to be real clear. The person that I'm speaking to in this seat is an incredible human being. It's just the unique gifts. There was just not enough alignment with what this role was requiring with how our organization had grown. And so I assumed this seat very recently, and I've had the amazing opportunity to take on 5 new direct reports. And I am messaging our vision, on a regular basis and doing exactly what I was discussing with you. I've created this feedback loop, and it's all tied to this is directly tied to our vision as an organization. It's directly tied to our core values. And Adrienne, are you there?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I'm here.
Okay. Hold on one second. I just, my computer went blue screen on me.
We can see you.
Okay. I'm so glad. Okay. There we go. Yes. So I've had the opportunity to do this most recently, and it's been a change over the last 3 months. And the person who, stepped out of that role that I stepped into is thriving in a way that she hasn't been able to in a long time. But by creating this feedback loop that is very interwoven with why we exist as an organization, it's our it's our people first, but it's having the opportunity to address behaviors and taking this feedback cycle that can be really scary to people. It's like when you first start giving feedback, the best way to start giving feedback is to request it first. How can I help you in your role? Tell me something that I'm doing that's absolutely driving you crazy, that you wish I would stop doing it. And the first time you go in to request this feedback, you're going to get raccoon eyes from everybody. But the second time and the third time, and you're like, okay, and you change up the question, to resonate with that person's brain better until they're able to start, trickling in with this face-to-face, tangible feedback that's tied to our vision and also our core values. And that's when, it's like jet fuel for an organization. But you have to take this vision statement and you have to tie it to, tangible behavior in the organization. And that's the way I do it. The way I do it is through this feedback loop.
Now, this is great. This is like a masterclass right here. I love this. So let's tie it in, right, with what you provide as far as what is the client trust equation. This leads right into that. And then how does high touch service ensure that owners keep coming back? Talk to us about the client trust equation.
So client trust, again, I think it goes to doing what you say you're going to do. And even in our client messaging, one of the things we do better, I think, than most people in the architecture and interior design industry, it's known for communication being a breaking point, right? It's like you hire somebody to come in and do, this multi-million-dollar project, and communication suffers, after the first couple of months that we've started working on it. And what we do to maintain that connection with our clients is we communicate like we're over communicators. It's like every week they get a weekly email update, so they're not having to go search for information. And it's a Scrum based model. I don't know if you've heard Scrum, but that's a pretty awesome framework. It's agile, but we give them in this email format every week. This is what we worked on last week to move the ball forward. This is what we're working on this week, and then this is what we need from you. And it's an accountability tool that goes both ways. But for us, we're over communicators. And that's what it's like. We can do what we say we're going to do. We're not afraid to put things in writing. We're not afraid to own up to our mistakes because we're in a project process, right? We're in the business of managing things that go wrong, that will go wrong, things that can't be. So I think that goes to integrity. It's like you have to do what you say you're going to do. And if that communication drops off, and if you're not being forthright about the challenges that you see, it's like bad news doesn't get better with time. No. It's like rip that Band-Aid off, be transparent about what has occurred, and keep moving forward. And never go to a client with a problem without a solution, ever.
Say that again.
Never go to a client with a problem without a solution.
I love that. And I think you hit on 2 key things. So one, you ended with never go to a client without a solution, which I think is key, right? And then the other piece was integrity.
Yes.
In your promises, you know, and I
Yeah.
think many times as leaders, especially those who are visionary, the creatives, you know, we take in a lot of stuff and we're like the good idea fairy. You know, I'm going to be able to do this and I can do that, I can do that. And then you realize, oh, wait a minute, I can't, right? But, you know, people remember what we say and they watch to see if what we say goes in tandem with what we do. And so many times leaders, we got to hold a rein in the good idea fairy, right? And then let your yes be yes and your no be no. So what does a truly non-negotiable people first culture look like in practice? Because I know there are leaders that are like, okay, people first. What does it really look like, right? So what does a truly non-negotiable people first culture look like in practice, not just in words, but in daily leadership decisions? What does that look like?
It means that, well, you said daily, but I'll go back to what I was thinking before you said daily, because I think it's very relevant. I think people first. I think you were alluding to this, but it's become a real tagline, and I feel like it's overused. And like the litmus test on whether or not you're really a people first organization is, do you put your people first even when it's very, very hard and when it comes at a great cost, to the organization, to the stakeholders in the organization. It's like, if you can answer that question with a resounding yes, then I think that that's where the rubber meets the road. It's like people first when it's good, but when times get really, really tough, are you, converting to, okay, we've got to do layoffs like immediately, just like that's what we have to do. The finances are not looking good. Cash flow is, hard and tough. So we're going to, let our people go. There is no greater way to erode trust in a culture than, when the times get tough, to just flip that switch and say, okay, we're going to cut half the family here. We're going to cut, a third, or I think that's a great way to people first means you're willing to experience some real pain and go through some hardship. And that's a good example.
Yeah, I love that 1000%. People first. And so, to everybody leader that's listening and watching right now, I want to invite you in the chat. Talk to us. Tell us from your perspective, right? As you hear this conversation about a non-negotiable people first culture, what does that look like for you in practice? Help us. We learn together. And definitely, I want to invite you to also share this conversation, this question and conversation with another leader that's in your network. One of the things that I was thinking about in preparation for this was this here. Leaders who are truly non-negotiable with people first, they protect dignity. Even in difficult conversations, people first leaders still hold high standards, but they correct with respect. Leaders, do you hear us? Correct with respect, not humiliation. They separate the person from the performance. I was in a meeting recently, and someone had not completed their portion of the task, right? And the individual who was leading that portion of the meeting was highlighting everybody who had done it. And when they got to that individual, they didn't say much, but the words that they said stung. Like the room just was quiet, They did not protect that individual's dignity. And I just said, ooh, they actually humiliated them, took away the respect, right? Leaders, we don't want to do that, right? People first cultures, we protect dignity. Yeah, what do you think about that?
It's a real pet peeve of mine. I'm a big believer, there's a lot of gray in this world, but this is a good example of a right way to do something and an absolute wrong way to do something. It's like, this is the golden rule that we're all taught, right? When we were, very young. It's like, treat people the way that you want to be treated. I have a real issue with it. And a good way to reframe this, it's like, it can be difficult to have those kind of conversations, especially when you're going around a room, and somebody didn't get done what they were supposed to get done and everybody knows it. And from a leadership standpoint, you're sitting there going, okay, how do I not let this person off the hook? Because there's issues involved with that. It's not fair to everybody else. But at the same time, maintain their dignity and not cut them down. I mean, what we do in our meetings, we have a rule, and we talk about issues, not people.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
So it's like, this thing didn't get done. Why didn't it get done? And it's not, to hang them out to dry or anything like that, but it's to maintain, a high level of accountability in an organization, to the fairness of everyone else. And if you want to achieve excellence and be people first, have high standards, you have to have accountability. And I think there's an easy way to do that. Kindness, kindness, and treat people the way you want to be treated.
There you go. Treat people the way you want to be treated. I have a boss, a supervisor who always says, this is not personal. Right. Especially when he's going to talk about a difficult conversation, I need you to know this is not personal. And literally, like, when that difficult conversation is over, he'll give you some space for you to collect yourself. But then he comes right back and, continues talking to you, continues working on the next thing. And that has been so helpful to our team in general, because then you don't have to guard yourself and protect yourself. And you can also be honest.
Well, and the key thing there is, it's not necessarily what he said, it was how he treated you after. He didn't treat you any different because you dropped the ball or failed, right? He didn't withdraw. He didn't, hang you out to dry in front of a bunch of people. I mean, it was, he's there to hold you, and pick you back up and keep business as usual. I think that's a huge part of it too. It's like not changing how you treat someone because they failed or because they made a mistake or they didn't get their stuff done. Is a big thing. Holding that person gently and closely. Still, they're still a part of the group. We're not isolating you or I'm not going to, treat you a different way because you let me down, which is hard, but it's, if you want to be a good leader, I think it's important.
It's a discipline.
Yeah.
It's a discipline, an intentional discipline, but that intentional discipline that has big dividends, really.
Yes.
So let me ask you this. If you had to distill your 2 decades of growth into one piece of non-negotiable advice, what would it be?
Put your faith. It's one word. You said I have to use one word or one thing?
One thing. Yeah, one piece or one thing, or you can even give us two. What non-negotiable advice would you give to us? To our leaders?
I gotta say it because it's what I believe. Put your faith where it belongs, which is in God. Not yourself, not your company, not, and I hesitate to say this because I love my people so strongly, but people will let you down. Businesses change. There's one thing in this world that is consistent and constant, and I've been on a spiritual transformation journey, my whole life, and I'm at just one spot in this journey, and I'm looking forward to how much more room I have to grow. But that's what I would say is put your faith where it is safest. And while all these things are changing, and while you're adapting and growing, you have that constant that is going to shape and really help you be the best version of yourself that you can be.
I love that. I love that. So as we turn the corner on this conversation right now, take us home with this last question. For the leaders that are listening and watching right now who feel stuck in grind mode, what mindset shift or best practice can help them begin leading with greater clarity, greater faith, greater sustainability?
I would say that in my times where I feel like I can't do anything well, or I get, stuck in this burnout cycle, the best thing that I've learned to do is double down and focus on a few things as opposed to too many things. And that means that, and keeping in mind everything that you say yes to, think about all the things that you're going to have to say no to. Yeah. And so be careful about what you say yes to. Figure out, most everybody knows what they're best at and what your unique gifts are and how you can add the most value, and protect that time and have the discipline to, document it, look at it, throw it up on a board and make a commitment around these things are the most valuable things that I can do. A handful of things. In a perfect world, it would be one thing, right? But that's real. That's like Jedi level. I'm not near that. I hope to be there, but focus on a few things so you can do those things well. And then you're not dealing with so much, context switching, feeling like you can't do anything well. And you get in this vicious cycle to where you're just, not feeling good about what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. You fall into this productivity trap. Don't fall into the, as many things as I can check off this list. No, like we're graduated past that. Sign of true leadership is having a very concise list of the most valuable things, and focusing your time and your effort on those things.
I love that. I love that 1000%. It reminds me of this, for leaders stuck in grind mode, he pretty much said to us, you're not called to carry everything. You are called to steward what matters most. And I think that right there is a good way to end our session today, because that's very important for leaders who are out there. All of us, we're doing the grind in many ways, but if you're out there doing the most, we need you to pause right now, focus, breathe, and ask yourself, what is really mine to carry and what do I need to let go of, so that, like E said, so that you can lead well. E, I'm so happy that you were with us today. This has truly been amazing. And I know that we have leaders that want to talk some more with you. They want to engage in your resources. They want to really learn and grow in how to go beyond the grind. So how can those who are listening and watching, how can we continue to engage with you?
I would love to get an email from anybody that would love to connect. It's Elyssa@tealandteam.com. You've got my website on here. And I eat, sleep, breathe this. It's what I was called to do, and I love it. So I'd love to hear from you.
Oh, fantastic. Well, listen, guests, everybody, that we love to support our guests. So I'm going to invite you. You see the link here on the screen. It's also in the description box. Reach out to E. Let her know that you saw, that you heard this particular episode, and share with her what is resonating with you and what questions you may have for her, that she can lend some more of her experience and expertise. E, it's been great. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Adrienne. It's been fun.
Absolutely. Well, listen, this conversation reminded us that leadership beyond the grind, it's not about doing less. It's about leading differently. It's about anchoring our decisions, as E said, in faith, protecting our vision with discipline, and creating literal environments where people don't just perform, they actually thrive. And if this episode resonated with you, I want you to be sure to subscribe to Transformation Station Leadership Podcast. Join us on Monday and Wednesdays, and share these episodes with another leader who's in your network that's ready to move beyond the grind. So until next time, stay grounded, stay faithful, and keep on leading with purpose.